Hello, I'm Amy the Bunny Lady, and this is my partner Elusive, Ellie for short. And we're here to teach you how to keep your rabbit cool in the summer heat. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I work with rescue rabbits at my local animal shelter, and I also help to educate fellow volunteers about rabbit behavior and care. So if you're interested in learning more about rabbits, rabbit facts, rabbit behavior, rabbit care, really anything to do with rabbits, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it so that you don't miss a single video. It's really important that we all take measures to keep our rabbits cool in the summer because excessive heat can be quite dangerous to rabbits. Rabbits are in danger of getting heat stroke at temperatures above 80 degrees, and sometimes less if they are long-furred rabbits or if it's like a humid area that you live in. I really recommend that you keep your rabbits indoors all year round, and I have a video explaining exactly my reasoning for that recommendation. But it is especially important for you to keep your rabbits indoors in the summertime. And I recommend this both because of the heat and also parasites like flies are more prolific in the summertime, and your rabbit is more likely to get a disease or some other infestation. It's important to remember that our rabbits can get overheated very quickly. If they were wild rabbits, they would have burrows underground that they could use to escape the heat, but as our domestic rabbits living above ground in hutches, they would not have that option. So it is really important that you bring your rabbits inside during the summertime. That being said, even inside it can get pretty hot sometimes, so it's still important to take measures to keep your rabbit cool inside. So here are 10 tips to help keep your rabbit cool in the summertime. This may seem obvious, but for those of you who have a central air or a window air conditioning in your home, it's really important that you keep it on all day long. I know some people will like to save energy and turn the AC off when they leave. But if you have pets, if you have rabbits, then you really do need to leave it on when it's a hot day. I recommend keeping the indoor temperature at about 75 degrees or less so that you don't risk your rabbit getting heat stroke. It's also important to keep in mind that if you have your rabbit in an upstairs room, it will be hotter than the rest of the house because heat rises. So make sure to have a thermometer in your rabbit's room so that you know what temperature it is. Because sometimes if you have a central AC and you set the temperature to say 75 degrees, it will actually end up being closer to 85 degrees in the upstairs rooms. So make sure you set your temperature according to what it's going to be in the rabbit room, not necessarily in the whole house because the temperature will change from floor to floor. If you don't have an air conditioner or you're still a little bit worried that the room is too hot, you can still make a makeshift air conditioner using a bowl of ice and a fan. So what you do is you put ice into a bowl and then have a fan and blow that fan over top of the bowl of ice, and that will end up cooling off the room pretty quickly actually. The only downside is, of course, you have to continuously replace the bowl of ice because it will melt. So you'll need to keep ice in the freezer and keep replacing it every few hours or so to keep the temperature down with that method. Another thing you can do if you have a house with a basement is to move your rabbit's area down into the basement. Basements tend to be the coolest part of the house, so moving your rabbit to an underground-ish area tends to be so much cooler, and you might not even need to use a cooling system if you move your rabbit to the basement because it can often keep cool on its own. This can actually end up being a way to save money because you won't need to use as much of your air conditioner, your electricity for that, because basements tend to stay cool on their own and don't need all that much help from our external appliances. That is an option if you want to try to save money on your electric bill while also helping your rabbit stay cool. You can also give your rabbit ceramic or marble tiles to lay against. These tiles tend to keep cooler much easier than, say, carpet or even wood. So it's something that your rabbit can lay against to help them regulate their body temperature. What you can even do is put the tiles in the refrigerator for half an hour, a couple hours beforehand, and then they'll be super chilled for your rabbit to lay against if they want to. Another thing you can do is spritz some water behind your rabbit's ears. So for rabbits, they regulate their body temperature largely with their ears. So they have veins going all up in their ears that help them to release heat or conserve heat in the winter. It ends up helping them regulate their body temperature. So spraying some cool water behind their ears can help them stay cool and cool down a bit if you're afraid that they're getting a little bit too hot. Just be sure that you don't soak them. Rabbit skin is pretty delicate, so it can end up getting irritated or tearing if it gets soaked. So just make sure you give little spritzes on the ears, and it's okay if the fur is a little bit damp, but you just want to avoid it being completely soaked. Another thing you can do to help your rabbit stay cool is to use frozen water bottles or ice packs. So what you do is you put them in the freezer and have them ready. Have a couple on hand so that you can switch them out, and then roll it in a towel, and then put it in your rabbit's enclosure so that they can lean against it if they want to, similar to the way the ceramic tiles are used. And they'll just help your rabbit kind of regulate their own body temperature and keep cool. This can also be very useful if your rabbit has started overheating, because it'll be a way to kind of externally help the rabbit cool down, because when they're overheating, that means their body can't do it itself anymore. So it's always good to keep some frozen ice packs or water bottles on hand just in case. You also want to make sure that you have air circulating the room, so using a ceiling fan or a rotating fan to help the air move around whatever room your rabbit is in. The reason for this is that stagnant air tends to trap heat more easily, so helping it move around will keep the room feeling a lot cooler. You do want to avoid blowing a fan directly onto your rabbit though, because that can end up causing respiratory problems, so problems with their breathing. Just have it circulating the room and not blowing directly onto your rabbit or into their enclosure. Another thing you can do to help keep your rabbit cool is to brush them more frequently in the summer. So rabbits will shed their coats for a thinner summer coat. You can help them get rid of some extra fur by brushing them and helping them keep their coat nice and thin, as thin as it'll get at least, for the summer. If your rabbit doesn't like to be brushed, like many of them don't, then you can brush your rabbit by petting them. So you do this by giving them a nice massage that they'll really enjoy, and then as you do that, just occasionally pluck a little bit of fur. And I call it butt plucking because often that's where the extra fur kind of gets stuck on a rabbit. So just kind of brushing and then butt plucking, brushing and then butt plucking to keep them relaxed and calm while you help them get rid of that extra fur. It's also very important that you make sure your rabbit has access to shade. It is okay for you to have sunlight shining onto your rabbit's enclosure. You always want them to have an option to be able to escape the sunlight and go into shade. So just make sure that wherever your rabbit is located in the room, that the light from the window isn't completely encompassing your rabbit and they have shade and a cool spot where they can go to. Rabbits in direct sunlight tend to overheat much more quickly, even if the temperature is lower than it really should be. It's always important to make sure that they have the choice to go into a shaded area. And the last tip I'm going to give you is to, of course, make sure that your rabbit always has access to some fresh, cool water. So make sure you replace it every day or even multiple times a day. You can add a couple of ice cubes in to help it stay cool longer. Overall, this will help your rabbit stay hydrated throughout the day, which of course helps them to regulate their own body temperature and stay cool. Another thing you can do is when you give them their fresh daily greens, you can wash them in cool water and leave some of that cool water on the greens instead of spinning it off. That will help your rabbit stay a little bit more hydrated and get some extra water in when they're eating their greens every day. If you're interested in more information about rabbits and rabbit health, rabbit care, anything along those lines, then you can check out my other videos, or you can hit that subscribe button and the little bell so that you know when my next video comes out. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that I'll see you next time.